All right. So you sent over this presentation by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn Jr. on preventing and reversing heart disease with diet.
Okay.
And let me tell you, I'm intrigued.
Interesting stuff.
This guy's a surgeon,
Yeah.
an Olympic athlete, and a champion for plant-based eating.
It is pretty interesting.
Color me curious.
Yeah, you might know him from Forks Over Knives, but he's been advocating for this for decades.
Oh, wow.
Long before plant-based diets were trendy.
Yeah. And he's making some pretty bold claims.
Yeah.
Saying that heart disease is practically non-existent in populations who eat a whole food plant-based diet.
Mm-hmm.
He even jokes that a cardiac surgeon setting up shop in Okinawa would go out of business.
Yeah.
Really makes you think.
It does.
About how we approach this disease in the West.
Absolutely. And it goes against that common assumption that heart disease is just an inevitable part of aging.
Right.
But Dr. Esselstyn points to some intriguing historical data to challenge that idea.
Oh, yeah.
Did you catch that World War II study in Norway?
Oh, yeah. That one was fascinating.
Yeah.
Death rates from heart attacks and strokes went way down during the war when food was scarce. But then they shot back up afterward when meat and dairy became readily available again.
Right.
It definitely makes you question if genetics are the only factor at play here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to understand his approach, we need to dive into the science behind how heart disease actually develops.
Okay, let's unpack that.
All right, so Dr. Esselstyn focuses heavily on the endothelium,
Right.
which is that thin lining of our arteries.
He calls it the gateway to health.
And for good reason, the endothelium is responsible for producing nitric oxide.
Right.
Which is crucial for keeping our blood flowing smoothly.
Yeah.
It helps prevent those sticky situations in our arteries.
But he says that the standard Western diet, with all its saturated fat and cholesterol, wreaks havoc on the endothelium.
Exactly. It's like a constant assault.
Yeah.
Think of LDL cholesterol, white blood cells, and platelets all starting to clump together on the artery walls, forming plaque.
Right. And then we meet the Darth Vader of the process, the foam cells.
Yes, foam cells.
Yeah.
These are white blood cells that have become engorged with oxidized LDL cholesterol.
Wow.
They weaken the cap of the plaque,
Okay.
making it much more prone to rupture.
And a rupture is what triggers most heart attacks.
Precisely. It's
Yeah.
like a bomb going off in your artery, suddenly blocking blood flow to the heart.
Okay, so that's the scary part.
Right.
But Dr. Esselstyn's main argument is that we can stop and even reverse this whole process by simply changing what we eat.
He's very specific about it, too.
All right.
No oil meat, fish, poultry, eggs, dairy, or added sugar.
Wow.
That's a pretty rigorous approach.
It is. But his rationale is that we need to eliminate anything that harms the endothelium and focus on foods that promote healing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And he's got some intriguing research to back it up.
Yeah?
Remember that study he mentioned about a single fast food meal?
Oh, yeah.
Just one meal of hash browns and sausage drastically impaired endothelial function in those healthy young people.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of alarming how much power a single meal can have over our vascular health.
It really speaks to the potential of food to either harm or heal.
So diet is obviously the cornerstone of Dr. Esselstyn's program.
Right.
But he also touches on other lifestyle factors that can help protect the endothelium.
Yeah, he's particularly passionate about antioxidants.
Yeah.
But he stresses getting them from whole foods, not supplements.
And he's basically obsessed with green leafy vegetables.
Oh, he wants you to eat 6 servings a day the size of your fist.
Wow.
Chewed thoroughly, not juiced.
Okay.
And he even recommends adding a few drops of balsamic vinegar.
Okay.
Apparently, it plays a role in restoring nitric oxide production.
I never knew balsamic vinegar was a heart hero.
There you go. Another fun fact for your next dinner party.
Right.
But now we get to the real question.
Yeah.
Does this approach actually work?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Does it actually reverse heart disease?
He's making some bold claims.
He is.
But where's the proof?
Well, Dr. Esselstyn presented some compelling visuals in the form of angiograms,
Okay.
which are X-ray images of blood vessels.
Right.
He showed before and after images of his patients that reveal significant plaque reversal after following his program.
And he even shared the story of Dr. Joe Crow, his colleague, who had a heart attack at just 44 years old.
Absolutely.
Pretty young for a heart attack.
Yeah.
And Dr. Crow was able to reverse his heart disease by adopting a plant-based diet.
Exactly.
It's a pretty powerful testament to the potential of this approach.
It is.
It is. And I remember him mentioning the results from his long-term studies, too.
Right. His research showed that the rate of major cardiac events,
Yeah.
things like heart attacks, strokes, and even death, was drastically lower in his patient group compared to other studies.
Refresh my memory on those numbers again.
His study had a 0.6% rate of major cardiac events.
Wow.
While other studies were recording rates between 20 and 25%.
That's a pretty stark difference.
It is.
Yeah, it's a massive reduction in risk. It definitely makes you wonder why this approach isn't more widely known and accepted.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
But before we dive into that,
Okay.
there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to explore.
Okay.
Dr. Esselstyn doesn't just focus on the heart.
Right.
He also highlights the connection between diet and brain health.
Oh, right. He said something about tiny strokes showing up in American brains as early as age 50.
Yeah.
That's pretty unsettling.
It is.
Yeah.
These tiny strokes, or white spots, are often a precursor to more serious cognitive decline.
Right.
But Dr. Esselstyn believes that a plant-based diet can help protect our brains from this kind of damage.
So it's not just about preventing heart attacks.
Right.
It's about maintaining overall cognitive function as we age.
Exactly. And he even gave a great example of a patient who no longer experienced leg pain while walking across a bridge after adopting his program.
Wow. That's a pretty dramatic improvement in circulation.
It is.
It seems like this approach has far-reaching benefits beyond just the heart.
Absolutely. It really highlights the interconnectedness of our bodies.
Yeah.
And how a holistic approach to health can address multiple issues simultaneously.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
The myth that heart disease is inevitable.
Right.
The science behind how plaque develops. The power of plant-based nutrition to reverse the process. And even the link to brain health.
Right.
But I remember in the video that some viewers had questions and concerns about this approach.
That's understandable whenever you challenge conventional wisdom.
Yeah.
You're bound to encounter some skepticism.
Right. They brought up things like statins, calcium scores, lipoprotein A, and even the practicality of sticking to such a strict diet long term.
Those are all valid points.
Yeah.
And Dr. Esselstyn addressed each one in the presentation.
Okay.
Let's break them down one by one and see what he had to say.
Sounds good. Let's start with statins.
Okay.
I know those are commonly prescribed for people with heart disease.
Right.
But Dr. Esselstyn seemed to think they're unnecessary.
Yeah.
And maybe even harmful for people following his program.
He does have a strong stance on that, doesn't he?
He does. His argument is that statins merely manage cholesterol levels,
Right.
but don't actually address the underlying inflammation that's driving the disease.
Exactly.
So he's saying that statins are treating the symptom, not the cause.
Exactly. And he believes that by eliminating the dietary culprits
Right.
and promoting endothelial healing, you can achieve better results without relying on medication.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about calcium scores?
Right.
I know those are often used to assess the risk of heart disease,
Yeah.
but Dr. Esselstyn had a surprising take on them.
He did.
He said that an increase in calcium scores could actually be a good sign.
That does seem counterintuitive at first.
It does.
But he explains that as inflammation subsides on a plant-based diet,
Oh,
the body sometimes deposits calcium to stabilize previously inflamed plaque.
so it's like the body's way of patching things up.
Precisely, it's a sign that the healing process is underway, even though it might look alarming on a scan.
Interesting. Okay, what about lipoprotein? Yeah, that one seemed a bit more complex.
Yeah.
It's a type of cholesterol that's been linked to heart disease.
Right.
And some people have genetically high levels of it.
Right. Lipoprotein A can be tricky because it's largely determined by our genes, not our diet.
Right.
So what's the solution if you're predisposed to high levels?
Well, Dr. Esselstyn argues that a healthy endothelium can actually mitigate the risks associated with high lipoprotein.
He's basically saying that even if you have a genetic predisposition,
Right.
a healthy lifestyle can still make a huge difference.
So it's not a death sentence. You can still take control of your health.
Exactly. Now let's tackle the practicality issue,
Okay.
because I know a lot of people listening are probably thinking,
Right.
okay, this all sounds great, but how am I supposed to give up all these foods?
Right. I mean, no oil, no meat, no dairy. That's a big change for most people.
Absolutely. And Dr. Esselstyn acknowledges that it can be a challenging transition.
Right.
He emphasizes the importance of patient education,
Okay.
support groups,
Right.
and making gradual changes rather than trying to overhaul your entire diet overnight.
So it's not about deprivation or willpower.
Right.
It's about creating a sustainable lifestyle change.
Precisely. He even holds regular seminars to help people make the switch
Oh, wow.
and provides recipes and meal plans to make it easier.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
It shows that He's not just preaching a restrictive diet.
Right.
He's actually providing the tools and resources to make it a reality.
Exactly. He's walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
All right, so we've explored the science, the evidence, and even addressed some of the counterpoints to Dr. Esselstyn's approach.
We have.
But now I'm curious about the bigger picture implications.
Okay.
If he's right, and heart disease is largely preventable and reversible, what does that mean for our society as a whole?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it opens up a whole new can of worms.
It does. We're talking about a potential paradigm shift in healthcare.
Yeah.
A move away from simply managing symptoms to actually preventing and reversing disease.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's almost like a revolution in thinking.
It is.
But revolutions don't happen overnight.
Right?
What kind of barriers do you think we'd face in trying to implement this kind of shift on a larger scale?
Well, for starters, there are powerful interests that benefit from the status quo.
Yeah.
The food industry makes a lot of money
Right.
selling us processed foods and animal products that Dr. Esselstyn is urging us to avoid.
Right. And the pharmaceutical industry profits from treating the diseases that these foods often contribute to.
Exactly. So there's definitely economic resistance to this kind of change.
And then there's the cultural aspect.
Yeah.
Food is so deeply ingrained in our traditions, our social gatherings, our identities.
Yeah.
It's not just about what we eat. It's about who we are.
Absolutely. Changing our diets can feel like we're giving up a part of ourselves.
And let's be honest, changing habits is hard.
Oh, yeah.
We're creatures of comfort.
Right.
And we often resist change, even when we know it's good for us.
That's true. But I think the more we learn about the power of food to heal,
Right.
the more motivated we'll be to make those changes.
Yeah, knowledge is power, right? The more informed we are, the better choices we can make.
Exactly. And the good news is that there's a growing movement of people embracing plant-based diets.
Oh, that's good.
Not just for their own health, but also for the health of the planet.
Right. It's becoming more mainstream, which is encouraging.
It is.
But it's still a long road ahead.
Right.
We need to make healthy food more accessible and affordable for everyone, not just those who can afford it.
Absolutely. We need to address those systemic barriers that prevent people from making healthy choices.
So we've got our work cut out for us.
We do?
But I'm feeling optimistic.
Good.
I think the more we talk about this, the more we share the science, the more we support each other, the closer we'll get to creating a healthier future.
I agree. It's a collective effort.
All right, well, that's a lot to digest.
It is.
But I'm eager to hear your take on the next section of the presentation, where Dr. Esselstyn dives into even more detail about the benefits of a plant-based diet. Ready to keep going?
Absolutely. Bring on the veggies.
All right, so we've covered the basics of Dr. Esselstyn's approach and the science behind it.
Right.
But I'm ready to dive deeper into the specifics.
Okay.
Where do we go from here?
Well, in this next section, Dr. Esselstyn goes beyond the general guidelines
Okay.
and gets into the nitty-gritty of what a truly heart-healthy, plant-based diet looks like.
Right.
And he doesn't hold back.
Oh, I noticed that he's not afraid to challenge conventional wisdom.
Yeah.
Like when he talks about antioxidants,
Yeah.
most people think popping a vitamin pill is enough.
Right.
But he strongly advocates getting them from food.
Exactly. He's all about those whole food sources.
Yeah.
And he's particularly enthusiastic about green leafy vegetables.
Right.
He recommends eating 6 servings a day,
Wow.
each the size of your fist.
Okay.
But here's the catch. He wants you to chew them thoroughly,
Okay.
not juice them.
That was interesting. What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, he explains that chewing breaks down the plant cells
Okay.
and releases more nutrients,
Right.
making them easier for our bodies to absorb.
Okay.
Juicing, on the other hand, strips away some of the fiber
Yeah.
and other beneficial compounds.
So it's not just about what we eat,
Right.
but also how we eat it.
Uh-huh.
There's a mindfulness aspect to it.
Absolutely. And he even recommends adding a few drops of balsamic vinegar to your greens.
Okay.
Apparently, it helps restore nitric oxide production in the endothelium.
Right.
Who knew balsamic vinegar was such a heart hero?
I love those little unexpected nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah.
It really shows how food can be medicine when we understand how it interacts with our bodies.
He also emphasizes the importance of avoiding oil altogether.
Right.
Even olive oil.
Yeah. Olive oil has such a health halo around it.
Yeah.
Most people consider it a heart-healthy fat.
It does.
What's this rationale for avoiding it?
He argues that even small amounts of oil
Okay.
can damage the endothelium and interfere with nitric oxide production.
Really?
He cites research showing that just a single tablespoon of olive oil can significantly impair endothelial function.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder to question those assumptions we have about certain foods.
Absolutely. We have to be willing to look beyond the marketing and the hype and dig into the science.
Okay, so we've talked about the specifics of the diet.
Right.
But what I find truly compelling are the real-life stories of his patients.
Yes, those are the moments that really bring this approach to life.
He showed some incredible before and after angiograms.
Yeah.
Those X-ray images of blood vessels that revealed significant plaque reversal in patients who adopted his program.
One particularly striking case involved a patient with severe blockage in their left anterior descending artery,
Oh, wow.
often called the widowmaker because it's such a critical artery.
Right.
After a year on Dr. Esselstyn's program, the blockage had visibly reduced.
That's amazing. It's proof that this isn't just theory.
Right.
It actually works in practice.
And it's not just about preventing future heart attacks.
Right.
He also shared a story of a patient who used to experience debilitating leg pain when walking across a bridge.
Yeah.
After adopting a plant-based diet, the pain disappeared.
That's incredible.
It is.
It speaks to the power of this approach to improve circulation throughout the entire body.
It's truly remarkable. And then there's a story of his colleague, Dr. Joe Crow, who had a heart attack at just 44 years old.
Yeah, that one really stuck with me.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that heart disease can strike anyone, even those who seem healthy on the outside.
Absolutely. And Dr. Crow was able to completely reverse his heart disease
Wow.
by embracing a plant-based diet.
That's so inspiring.
He's a living testament to the power of this approach.
But I know that for many people, the idea of completely overhauling their diet can feel overwhelming.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
A big change.
So how does Dr. Esselstyn address that sense of overwhelm and help people make this transition?
Well, he's very aware of that challenge
Okay.
and emphasizes the importance of gradual change.
Okay.
He encourages people to start by incorporating more plant-based meals into their week, experiment with new recipes, and find ways to make it enjoyable.
So it's about finding a sustainable approach,
Mm-hmm.
not just going cold turkey on everything you love.
Exactly. He also stresses the importance of finding support.
Right.
He holds regular seminars where people can connect with others who are on the same journey,
Okay.
share recipes, and learn from each other's experiences.
It's that sense of community that can make a big difference.
Absolutely. It's easier to stick with a lifestyle change when you have a support system in place.
All right, so we've talked about the specifics of Dr. Esselstyn's approach,
Right.
the science behind it,
Yeah.
and the inspiring stories of his patients.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm curious about the bigger picture implications.
Okay.
If this approach is so effective, why isn't it more widely embraced by the medical community?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And it leads us to the next section of the presentation where Dr. Esselstyn tackles some of the counterpoints and criticisms he's faced over the years.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into that he definitely doesn't shy away from controversy.
Not at all.
Well, let's hear it. What are some of the main criticisms he addresses?
He tackles a wide range of topics,
Okay.
from the role of statins to the validity of calcium score testing.
Let's start with statins.
Okay.
I know those are commonly prescribed to people with heart disease.
Right.
But Dr. Esselstyn seems to have a different perspective.
He does. He believes that for many people who adopt his program, statins are unnecessary
Okay.
and potentially even harmful.
What's his reasoning behind that?
Well, his main argument is that statins simply manage cholesterol levels,
Okay.
but don't address the underlying inflammation that's driving the disease.
So he's advocating for a more holistic approach,
Right.
treating the root cause rather than just the symptoms.
Exactly. He believes that medication should be a last resort,
Okay.
not a first line of defense.
That's a bold stance.
It is.
What about calcium scores?
Okay.
I know those are often used to assess the risk of heart disease.
Right.
What's his take on those?
He has a rather surprising perspective on calcium scores.
Okay.
He argues that an increase in calcium scores could actually be a good sign.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That seems counterintuitive.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But he explains that as inflammation subsides on a plant-based diet,
Okay.
the body sometimes deposits calcium to stabilize previously inflamed plaque.
So it's like the body's way of patching things up.
Precisely, it's a sign that the healing process is underway.
Right.
Even though it might look alarming on a scan.
That's fascinating.
It is.
It makes you realize how much we still don't know about the complexities of the human body.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
it highlights the importance of questioning assumptions
Right.
and looking beyond the surface.
Okay, what about lipoprotein?
Okay.
That one seemed a bit more complex.
Yeah.
It's a type of cholesterol that's been linked to heart disease, and some people have genetically high levels of it.
Right. Lipoprotein A can be tricky because it's largely determined by our genes, not our diet.
Right, so what's the solution if you're predisposed to high levels?
Well, Dr. Esselstyn argues that a healthy endothelium can actually mitigate the risks associated with high lipoprotein.
So he's basically saying that even if you have a genetic predisposition, a healthy lifestyle can still make a huge difference.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself to make the best choices possible, regardless of your genetic makeup.
I love that message of empowerment.
Yeah.
It's not about being a victim of your genes. It's about taking an active role in your health.
Absolutely. And it's a message that resonates with a lot of people.
Okay, so we've tackled some of the scientific counterpoints.
Right.
But what about the practicality of this approach?
Okay.
I know a lot of people struggle with the idea of giving up so many foods they love.
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And it's one that Dr. Esselstyn addresses head on.
Okay.
He acknowledges that it can be a challenging transition. Right, but he emphasizes that it doesn't have to be an all-or-nothing proposition.
So it's not about deprivation or willpower.
Right.
It's about finding a sustainable approach.
Exactly. He encourages people to start small.
Okay.
Focus on adding more plant-based meals into their week.
Okay.
Experiment with new recipes and find ways to make it enjoyable.
It's about making gradual changes that you can stick with long term.
Precisely. He also stresses the importance of finding support.
Right.
Connecting with others who are on the same journey.
Right.
And seeking guidance from healthcare professionals who are knowledgeable about plant-based nutrition.
It's about building a support system to help you navigate the challenges and celebrate the successes.
Absolutely. And it's about remembering that this is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
There will be ups and downs, but the key is to keep moving forward one step at a time.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. Now, ready to explore the broader societal implications of Dr. Esselstyn's work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is where things get really interesting. If he's right, and heart disease is largely preventable and reversible, it has the potential to disrupt entire industries and challenge deeply ingrained beliefs about health and disease.
It does, and it raises questions about who benefits from the status quo.
Right.
And who might resist this kind of change.
There's a lot at stake here.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it comes down to a fundamental question.
Okay.
What we value more, profit or health?
Right.
Convenience or well-being?
Those are powerful questions.
They are.
And they're questions that each of us needs to grapple with.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the choices we make as individuals, as communities, and as a society will determine the future of our health.
It's a big responsibility, but it's also an incredible opportunity.
It is.
We have the chance to create a world where health is not just the absence of disease, but a state of vibrant well-being. A world where we nourish our bodies, our minds, and our spirits with wholesome food and a deep connection to nature.
That's a vision worth striving for. And it starts with each of us, with the choices we make every day, what we eat, how we move, how we connect with ourselves and each other.
Right.
All of these choices have a ripple effect, creating a healthier, more sustainable future for ourselves and generations to come.
So if we embrace this shift towards a more preventative approach to health,
Okay.
what are some of the potential ripple effects we might see?
Well, for starters, we could see a significant reduction in healthcare costs.
Okay.
Chronic diseases like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and even some types of cancer are major drivers of healthcare spending.
Right.
If we could prevent or reverse these diseases through lifestyle changes, it could free up a tremendous amount of resources.
That's a huge potential benefit.
Yeah.
And what about the impact on the food industry?
Well, it's likely that we'd see a shift away from processed foods and animal products towards more whole plant-based foods.
Right.
This could create new opportunities for farmers, food producers, and entrepreneurs who are focused on sustainable and healthy food systems.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Could lead to a more diverse and resilient food system.
Exactly. And it could also have a positive impact on the environment.
Yeah.
Animal agriculture is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, deforestation, and water pollution.
Right.
Shifting towards a more plant-based diet could significantly reduce our environmental footprint.
So it's a win-win for both our health and the health of the planet.
Absolutely, but it's important to acknowledge that this kind of shift won't happen overnight.
Right.
There are deeply entrenched systems and beliefs that will need to be challenged and transformed.
Right. It's not just about individual choices.
Yeah.
It's about creating a supportive environment that makes healthy choices easier for everyone.
Exactly. We need to address issues of food access, affordability, and education.
Right.
We need to create policies that support sustainable agriculture
Right.
and make healthy food options available to all communities.
It's a multifaceted challenge, but I think it's one that we're ready to tackle.
Yeah.
There's a growing awareness of the importance of preventative health, and more people are embracing plant-based diets.
I agree. I think we're at a tipping point.
Yeah.
And Dr. Esselstyn's work is helping to accelerate this movement.
He's a true pioneer.
He is.
But his message isn't just about diet.
Right.
It's about taking a more holistic approach to health.
Absolutely. He emphasizes the interconnectedness of our physical, emotional, and mental well-being.
And he talks about the importance of connections, unity, and finding joy in the journey.
He's not just prescribing a diet.
Right.
He's offering a path towards a more fulfilling and vibrant life.
Right. So we've explored the science, the evidence, the criticisms,
Right.
and the broader societal implications of Dr. Esselstyn's work.
Yeah.
But now I'm curious to hear your personal take on all of this.
Okay.
What stands out to you the most?
Honestly, it's the combination of scientific rigor and compassion that really impresses me.
Yeah.
He's not just presenting data.
Right.
He's sharing stories, offering hope,
Yeah.
and empowering people to take control of their health.
I agree. He's not just a doctor. He's a teacher, a mentor,
Right.
and an advocate for a healthier world.
And he's challenging us to think differently,
Yeah.
to question assumptions, and to embrace a more holistic vision of health.
He's a true visionary.
He is.
All right, well, I'm feeling pretty inspired right now. I'm ready to eat my greens and spread the word.
Me too. And I think that's the perfect segue into the final section of the presentation,
Okay.
where Dr. Esselstyn offers some practical tips and strategies for making this approach a reality in our own lives.
Okay, let's dive into that. I'm eager to hear his advice on how to make this work in the real world. All right, we've covered a lot of ground in Dr. Esselstyn's presentation, from the science of heart disease to the potential societal shifts if his approach were more widely adopted.
Yeah, it's been fascinating.
Now I'm really curious to hear how he suggests we actually put all this knowledge into action.
Well, in this last part, Dr. Esselstyn shifts from the why to the how.
Okay.
He acknowledges that making such a significant dietary change can feel daunting, so he offers some really practical advice.
What stood out to you in this section? I know I was scribbling notes furiously.
I think what struck me was his emphasis on support systems.
Okay.
He really stresses that you don't have to go it alone.
Yeah.
He talks about the importance of family and friend support groups and finding healthcare providers who are knowledgeable about plant-based nutrition.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Change is hard. And having people to cheer you on, answer your questions, and even cook with, can make a huge difference.
Exactly. He even suggests involving your loved ones in the process.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe cooking together, trying new recipes, or even watching documentaries like Forks Over Knives.
Turning it into a shared experience rather than a solitary struggle. I like that. What else resonated with you?
He also provides some really concrete tips for dealing with cravings and social situations.
Yeah.
He talks about the importance of planning ahead,
Right.
having healthy snacks on hand, and being prepared to politely decline foods that don't align with your goals.
Oh, yeah. That whole section on navigating social gatherings was gold-y. He gave some great strategies for handling those situations gracefully without feeling like you're missing out.
Right. It's about being confident in your choices and finding ways to enjoy the social aspect without compromising your health.
Right.
He even suggests offering to bring a plant-based dish to share.
That's a great idea. It takes the pressure off and allows you to showcase how delicious and satisfying plant-based food can be.
Exactly. He also encourages people to focus on the abundance of foods they can eat
Yeah.
rather than dwelling on what they're giving up.
That's such a key mindset shift, right?
Right.
There's a whole world of delicious fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds to explore.
Absolutely. And he reminds us that this isn't about deprivation.
Right.
It's about nourishing our bodies with wholesome, nutrient-dense foods that promote health and vitality.
He even talks about the joy of rediscovering the natural flavors of food without all the added salt, sugar, and fat.
Yeah, it's about coming back to basics,
Right.
reconnecting with nature and finding pleasure in nourishing our bodies.
I love that. It's about coming back to the basics, reconnecting with nature, and finding pleasure in nourishing our bodies.
Yeah, and he ends on a really inspiring note,
Okay.
reminding us that this isn't just about adding years to our lives.
Right.
It's about adding life to our years.
I like that. It's not just about longevity. It's about quality of life. It's about feeling energized, vibrant, and fully alive in our bodies.
Exactly. And that's what struck me the most about Dr. Esselstyn's presentation. It's not just about science and data. It's about hope, empowerment, and the potential to live our best lives.
So we've delved deep into the science, the evidence, the challenges, and the inspiring possibilities presented by Dr. Esselstyn's approach.
We have.
As we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the most important message is that we have more power than we think to influence our own health destinies.
Right.
We're not just victims of our genes or our circumstances. By making informed choices and embracing a holistic approach to health, we can create a future filled with vitality, purpose, and joy.
Beautifully said. It's about taking ownership of our health and recognizing that we have the power to make a difference not just for ourselves, but for generations to come.
And remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration.
Yeah.
There are countless resources available to support you on your journey.
Right.
There are communities, organizations, and individuals all over the world who are passionate about plant-based living and are eager to share their knowledge and experience.
So take that first step. Connect with others and embrace the power you have to create a healthier, more vibrant life for yourself and the world around you.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep asking questions, and keep exploring the incredible potential of food to heal.